Hey, shalom, y'all. Hey, guys, it's Fletch. Welcome back to OTH. And what you're looking at right now, preparedness, so to speak, is a ongoing thing, right? You never really get to the point to quote unquote that you've arrived, right? You can always do better. You can always improve your position. All of those, different things that we need to be aware of and working towards. And in that light, our community recently made a bulk purchase of wheat berries. Notice I did not say weed, but I said wheat berries. Nowadays, you never know, right? But anyways, so I got my 15 buckets here, and I got my 10 bags, 50 pounds each of wheat berries. And this is kind of what I found for me is kind of the sweet spot. Generally what I do to improve my position. So what I'll do is I get 10 bags or 10 50-pound bags, I should say, of whatever product it is that I'm doing, whether it's beans or rice or wheat berries or corn. Then I'll buy 15 buckets. That's kind of about how it turns out. It's about 1.5 bags per bucket, and so you need 15 buckets for 10 bags. And so yeah, that's what I'm doing today. And so the next step is I'll put a Mylar bag in each one of these buckets. I will, pour them in and then seal them about 80% of the way. Use a vacuum to suck out most of the air. And then I'll have my daughter help me. And, as soon as she's done sucking the air out, I'll use a vacuum and seal it real quick with a hair straightener. Guys, you can buy a hair straightener at Wally World for like $10. I think I paid $9.94 yesterday for a hair straightener just to do this. So, it's not going to break the bank. But speaking of breaking the bank, okay, so how much is this going to cost, Fletch? Well, because of the group buy, we got our 50-pound bags of wheat berries for $17 a bag, which in today's marketplace is a good price. $170 there because there's 10. So $170. The buckets with lids, there's my stack of lids over there. The buckets with lids ran almost $80. And then, your cost for oxygen absorbers and Mylar bags, around $300-ish or something like that. To put up 15 buckets full of food, that is going to bless someone hopefully at a later time. And while I'm mentioning that, I wanted to talk about if you do use Lowe's buckets, don't buy the blue lids that these come from, because those lids don't stay on there very well. They don't seal on the containers very well. Buy these I think they call them food service lids or something. If you look, there's a gasketed seal in there. And then these are the lids where you can, when you put them on, you got to put them on with like a rubber mallet. But you see right there, you can peel that off, and then it makes the lid go off and on easier at a later time. But when you first seal it on there, it's really difficult to get it off without peeling that part off first. If at a later time you get to that point, you can do that. But these lids stay on a whole lot better than the blue ones or the old gray ones that Lowe's had. And speaking of that and the Lowe's bucket, I can't speak for Lowe's or Encore. I can tell you that I have researched this in the past, because we were giving bulk foods to a missionary that was taking them to Mexico, and they were using the buckets again. So for food, even once it wasn't inside the Mylar bag, contacted the manufacturer, not Encore, but I contacted the manufacturer and I said, hey, here's the deal. We're shipping, this non-perishable food, dry goods in Mylar bags, but, the missionaries want to use the bucket, continuing in there. Is there anything in these buckets that's going to hurt the food? What they told me was that, you know, honestly, it's the same bucket. We just charge more for the quote unquote food grade bucket. And there's no chemical sprays or anything that they put inside the bucket. Nothing changes, nothing's different. It's made the exact same way on the exact same line. The only difference is one, they're calling a food grade bucket and they're charging you, you know, $4.50, $5, $6, $7 for, versus, you know, the bucket that's $3.50 or whatever. And actually, if you look on, and I meant to get some footage of this when I was in Lowe's the other day, but I forgot. But if you look right here, you see where that says 2HDPE. That's food grade plastic, number one. But when you look at the food grade plastics that this company makes and sells at Walmart in the form of a white food grade bucket, it's also, you know, made with number 2 HDPE plastic. And so think of that what you will. Knowing what I know, for me personally, not you, but for me personally, I would not have any problem at a later time putting the food directly in those buckets, even though they're not quote unquote food grade plastic buckets. But having said that, also, you know, if your food is inside the Mylar bag, it doesn't matter anyways, right? Because the Mylar bag is what's actually making contact with the food. So as long as it's in a Mylar bag, it really doesn't matter the quality of the bucket that you use. So something else to keep in mind. Hey guys, and here's something else I wanted to share with you. When you buy your Mylar bags, try to buy them from a company that will ship them to you in a flat box like this. I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, because that hasn't been my experience, but supposedly, when you fold these Mylar bags in half, some of the thinner bags can, I guess, you know, wear thin or whatever, and it puts little tiny holes in the bags, and then at a later time, they're not going to hold air, once these oxygen absorbers have absorbed all the oxygen in the Mylar bags, if they're sealed properly, it'll actually suck down a negative on the dry food you have in your bucket, and it'll look like, freeze-dried coffee or something like that. You know, it's all sealed up inside there tight. I've inspected mine going, back 6 years, and none of mine have leaked like that. You know, past the first couple of days, I always leave them sitting out for a couple of days to make sure that they don't leak. But once I verified that, none of my stockpile, quote unquote, that I have has leaked over the years. But so because of that, people that I respect have reported that to me. So because of that, I've started buying them only if they come in a box like this. And you do have to buy more. Like, I think there was 50 in this box. And, it's probably, how the other places get them, right? They're buying them in bulk like this in the case, right? But, yeah, so that's something else that you might want to keep in mind too. And then you don't have to deal with that. And they'll also store a lot longer this way too, because you never have to worry about them being bent in half and developing leaks on the creases. So food for thought. Okay guys, and this part here is going to be kind of intended for new people, quote unquote. So again, 500 pounds, right? So 10 50-pound sacks, whether it's beans or rice or corn or wheat berries, will basically fit into 15 buckets. This is more or less how you do it. So if you look here, you see I've got, right, filled almost to the top in every bucket. That one's a little bit lower. That one's actually a little too high. That one's low. And then I'll go slower. So I've basically roughly filled up the top of each one of those, okay? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use this last bag, and before I seal each bag, I'm going to completely top off each one of these 15 bags. If I discipline myself and I pay very close attention, I will use this whole bag by the time I get to the end, and it works out almost perfectly every time. I've never had it not work out, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking beans, rice, corn, or wheat. Pretty much all of them work. So one thing that you do need to be aware of, though, that I was thinking about as I was doing this, was that the lids fit down inside the top of the bucket a little bit, maybe a ½ inch or so. So when you're filling your bags, kind of the measuring metric, so to speak, that you want to use is if you push it in like this, you look on the side here and you want to see how much room that you have. And basically, if you kind of eyeball it, you can see that there's marks on the side, and there's a mark on there. It's about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch down. And if you use that as a measurement to fill each one of your bags in the buckets, when you get to the end, it'll come out almost perfectly 15. And some of them, you know, you'll occasionally overfill a little bit, right? No big deal. Just take a cup or something, you know, and take a little bit out and add it to, you know, just a little bit to each one of the other ones, and this isn't going to make a big difference. And so eventually you'll have 15, you know, pretty much perfectly filled to the brim buckets full of food. And so that's what I wanted to share with you. And I'm sure someone probably noticed that earlier. And yeah, guys, I do actually live this. It's not just for YouTube videos. Okay, guys, so here's something else I wanted to talk to you about. And this is also intended for those of you that might be kind of newer to the world of putting up dried foods. So if you look inside this bag, look down in there real close, and you'll see, I'll try to get this close, but not too close. If you look in there, you can see that there's all kinds of chaff in there, right? Little pieces of the shells that are on the outside of the wheat berries, and then there's also probably a little few pieces of stalk or shaft of the wheat plant occasionally that's in there. And you might even find like a piece of corn or a dried soy nut or something like that, you know, soy nut. You might find something like that in there as well. That is completely normal if you are using what's called feed grade wheat. And guys, the only difference between quote unquote feed grade wheat and a wheat that you're going to pay a premium from is simply the amount of times that it's cleaned and filtered. And so you'll notice that if you're using feed grade wheat, that as you're pouring these out, you're going to have a little bit of dust that's in there. That's completely normal. You'll also notice that you're going to have the little chunks, you know, of chaff that are in there. That's completely normal as well. Nothing about any of that makes this food not fit for human consumption. The only caveat to that I would make is that if you're looking through it and, you know, you've got weevils in it, or, you know, mealworm larvae or something in there, or I've not seen this myself, but I know someone that has personally, and that there was mouse droppings that was in the stuff that they got. And I definitely wouldn't use that. But, you know, if you see mouse droppings, you know, it's pretty, you know what it is, right? If you see it. And if you don't know, just Google it. You figure it out. Yeah, so having said that, you know, if you're paying, you know, premium for what's supposed to be, you know, premium wheat berries, and you're pouring it out, and it looks like this right here with all that chaff in there, someone took advantage of you and they sold you feed grade wheat berries at the cleaned and filtered price. So I wanted to share that with you guys too. So we just finished sealing up the bags, and I know I've gone over this before, so I'm not going to belabor it, but basically what you want to do is seal up about 80% of the bag going across from one side to the other, and then the last little bit you use a vacuum on a crack and crevice tool like this, and you stick it down in there and you wait until it's sucked down. It looks kind of like this right here, not completely hard and tight, but similar to that. And then, you know, you have someone help you do that part, and you take the crack and crevice tool out real quick. Then you have someone else seal it up with a hair straightener. And guys, I know there's lots of different ways to do it. And, you know, I have friends that use an iron and a board and different things, and use what works for you. But for me, I think it's just a lot easier, right? You can just stand here by each bucket and have one person holding the vacuum and the other with the straightener. And as soon as you remove the straightener, you straighten the bag and you seal it. And then you leave them like this for, I usually do like 48 hours. And you know, some of them that aren't as taut right now, see this one? Right now it's got quite a bit of air in it. However, you know, hopefully in the next 48 hours, that'll, you know, the oxygen absorber will absorb all of the air that's in there, and it'll draw that bag tight on the wheat berries that are in there. And so, you know, that's basically it. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a sermon now. So those of you that are opposed to such things, you have your warning. Do you not believe in Jesus enough to believe that he's going to meet your every need? Brother, you are trusting in your gold and your silver that will be thrown in the streets. You're not trusting on Jesus, brother. Right? Because you got beans, bullets, band-aids, right? Guys, use your common sense, right? If the Father wanted to save Noah, he didn't have to make Noah build the ark, right? He could have just not flooded the earth, or he could have built an ark himself for Noah and his family, or he could have just moved Noah and his family to a mountaintop somewhere and, you know, just didn't have that, right? Heck, he could have even completely took them off the earth and put them back on, right? Once the flood was over. Joseph, right? 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine. They still had to do what the Father directed, right? Faith is doing what the Father has asked you or told you to do. Me personally, myself, I kind of enjoy bantering back and forth with folks about that kind of stuff. And so hopefully you get the humor that was intended in that. In honesty, in all actuality, it takes more faith to do things like this, guys, than it does to do nothing. Hopefully I've inspired someone out there today to, you know, take this seriously. Guys, I'm on a fixed income myself. You can do this, even if it's starting with 100 pounds in 3 buckets, right? Because, 150 pounds. So 3 50-pound bags will fit into 2 buckets, basically. Start there, right? And just keep working out, keep expanding, keep adding every year to what you have. And in no time, you'll be able to look back and you'll have, you know, a considerable, quote unquote, stash of food.